Say UFT class 12 Parameterization part 2. In the last class we discussed parameterization, data table, data driven testing using data table. First usage we discussed. Import test data directly into data table and connect to the test. Okay, next, enter test data directly into data table. Enter test data directly into data table and connect to the test. Next, second one, import. See, import test data from files, either Excel or text files. Just a minute. Import test data from files and connect. Test. See, first test file, text file, notepad like text file means flat file, file which doesn't have any format, text file or flat file. Open the file. Agent password. John 1 HP. John 2 ABCD. John 3 XYZ. John 4 save. Launch data table, view menu, data. It is blank. Just a minute. Relaunch the UFT tool. New test. View data. Still it is showing. Just a minute. Enter password. Click OK. Still it is showing this one. Some problem is there. Just a minute. See, launch data table, view menu, data. Place mouse pointer on data table and right click, file, import from file. Column headings in the imported table should match the parameter names. Okay. Browse path of the file, desktop, file available on desktop. See all files. Data. Observe Dinesh. Data imported na? Dinesh.
Yes, it did.
Okay, imported. See, remaining steps common. What are the remaining steps? Connecting test data to the test and run the test. See, you know how to connect test data. We have three possibilities. First one is using editor view. Next, using keyword view. Last one, using data driver wizard in tools menu. See data driver. Just a minute. Tools menu. Where is this data driver? Now data driver. See, observe this test data file. See here two syntax rules. First syntax rule, text file. See data table considers text file first line as column headers. Next, tab space is the delimiter in between two columns. These are the syntax rules. See, if you want to import, test data from a text file, text, or you can say flat file, text file, there are two syntax rules. Tell me, Saujanya, what are the two syntax rules? First one, Radha, you tell me. What are the two syntax rules? You tell me, Ritu.
Yes, sir. Data table consider first row as a header and the second is tab space is a delimiter.
Okay. Data table considers text file, first line as column headers. Next, second one, tab space. Tab space is the delimiter between two fields. Next, if you want to import test data from Excel file, only one syntax rule. If you want to import test data from an Excel file, see, data table considers Excel sheet first row as column headers. Here delimiter not required. Excel has format, tabular format, rows and columns. So no delimiter required. If it is flat file, delimiter required. Observe. Create Excel file. Sorry. Open the file. Agent, password, test1 HP. Suppose 5 sets of test data. Suppose file name input. Take new test. Launch data table. Place mouse pointer on data table anywhere and right click, file, import from file. Okay. See, browse path of the file, imported. Observe Surendra, data imported now.
Yes, sir.
Remaining steps common. Connecting test data to the test and run the test. You know how to connect. Tell me Radha, how to connect test data to the test? How to connect? We have three possibilities. What are the three possibilities?
Editor view
Using editor view.
and using keyword view and
Keyword.
data driver wizard
Yes.
from the tools option.
Yes. Third one, using data driver wizard from tools menu. Okay. See, remaining steps common na? So already we discussed how to connect. See, now just I am showing how to import. Import test data from text file and Excel file. Okay. Next next usage. This is second usage. First usage we already discussed in the last class. What is that first usage? Enter test data directly into data table and connect. This is first usage. Usage of data table. Second usage, import test data from external files. Third usage, tell me Saujanya, third usage? Saujanya. Saujanya not responding. Dinesh. Dinesh.
Not sure.
Radha. So in the theory chapter we already discussed.
Import
Import test data
from I forget.
from a database.
Table.
See.
Well,
Okay, put mute. Import test data from a database and connect to the test. See, you can use any database. See here steps. First step, create a database. One-time activity. If you create a database for test data, you and your team members can use. Next, create tables. Next, enter test data. These are the preliminary steps. Next, say if it is file, either text file or Excel file, no formalities. You can directly fetch the test data. If it is a database, connection string is required. In between front end and back end, connection string is required. See, in this scenario, UFT is front end, database is test database is back end. In between these two things, front end and back end, connection string is required. See, create DSN. DSN stands for data source name. This is also one-time activity. Once you create DSN, you can use the DSN for all tables. You and your team members can use that DSN for the database. If it is another database, you have to create another DSN. Next, fetch test data using SQL commands. Say UFT has an integrated MS Access database engine. You can directly type SQL commands in UFT tool editor. UFT supports SQL. See, these are the 5 steps. First step, create a database. Suppose MS Access database for our test data. test db. Suppose I want to store on desktop. You can store anywhere. Okay. Create. Next, create tables. Just a minute. Just a minute. Agent. Next, password. Enter data. Test 1 HP. Test 2. Test 3. Test 4. Next, save. Suppose table name login. Next, one more table. Orders. Save. Table name orders. Suppose field name order number. Save. Close. Next, third step, first three steps over. Create a database, create tables. Suppose in our project 30 tests require test data, you create 30 tables, you and your team members can use. Okay. Next, third step, enter test data. Next step, create DSN. Observe view menu, data. Okay. First take new test. Place mouse point on data table and right click. Sheet import from database. See, select second option. Specify SQL statement manually. If we use first option, create query using Microsoft Query, that Microsoft Query software required. You can select second option. Specify SQL statements manually. Click next. Connection string. Click create. Click New. Here select database type MS Access. Here other database also available, Oracle, SQL Server, etc. Select MS Access. Click Next. Click Browse. Suppose I want to store on desktop. Enter DSN name ABCD. Click Save. Next. Finish. DSN created. Next, associate the DSN with our database. Click Select. Select the database. Database. Where the database located? Just a minute. Users, desktop, select the database, click OK, again click OK. Oh, just a minute. Open the file, save as MDB file. Just a minute. Place mouse pointer on data table and right click. Sheet import from database. Specify SQL statement manually. Click Next. Click Create. New MS Access MDB. Just a minute here. What is that one? Oh. Did you observe the problem, Ritu?
Yes, sir.
Why
Uh,
earlier problem?
so there are two Microsoft Access driver. One is M.
Earlier we selected MDB
Yes, sir.
extension. Actually we have to select this ACCDB extension.
Oh,
Okay, select MDB. Just a minute. MDB. Next, browse path to store. Suppose ABCD. Save. Next, finish. Select test DB MDB. OK. OK. Observe ABCD. DSN created and associated with our database. Click OK. See connection string generated. Enter select statement. Select agent, password fields from table name login. Finish. Observe Ritu, test data important na?
Yes, sir.
Just a minute, I will show once again. From scratch. This time I am going to use same 2007 MS Access only. Guide me, Dinesh. You know the steps: create a database, create tables, enter test data. Say I selected MS Access as my test database. You can use SQL Server or Oracle based on your company environment. Guide me, Dinesh.
Yes, sir.
First create a database.
Yes.
Blank database. Suppose test DB. Storing in documents folder. Okay, create. Second step, create
Right.
tables. Create tables. See, agent. This is column header. Next, password. Next, enter test data. Test 1, HP. Test 2, test 3, like this. Next, save. Suppose column table name login. Next, create one more table. You can create number of tables. Order number 1, 4, 7, 10, 12. Save. Table name orders. Okay. Save the database. Okay. Close. This stored in documents, my documents, test DB. Okay. Next step, create DSN. Creating DSN also one time activity. Guide me, Dinesh. Create DSN for our test database. Why people are responding very slowly? Can you guide me, Saujanya? Creating DSN.
It's tools.
Tools. No.
No, sorry. We need to find that Excel sheet. So view
View menu.
and
Data.
keyword view. Data. Okay.
Data.
Data.
See, it is not Excel sheet. Data table. Excel like.
Data table. Okay.
Next.
Excel like. Okay. And click on any field and
Place
right
mouse
click.
pointer and right click.
And sheets. Sorry, data. Yeah.
Sheet only.
Okay. Import.
Import.
Yeah, import from database.
From database.
And here we need to select a specific SQL statements manually.
Specify SQL statement manually. Click next.
And click next.
Click create.
And create.
Click
create. and we need to keep the connection string which
click
is
new.
there
New.
in the documents. New,
Click new.
new, click
Here
new.
select database type. Our database is
Database type is
ACCDB.
driver do, yeah.
This one. Next, browse path to store.
Click next.
Browse path to store. Suppose
Yes.
I want store on desktop.
We can.
Suppose DSN name.
Desktop.
DSN name December.
Okay. And click save.
Next, finish.
Next. Yes.
Finish.
Finish. After that, like.
Just a minute. DSN created.
Now we need to
next
attach
associate to our test database. Select.
Yes. Select.
Where is the database? Database available on desktop now. Just a minute.
Yeah.
Just a minute. I will browse.
Desktop.
Not desktop. Available on
users.
my documents.
Users.
I think my documents.
Yeah, it's users. Then my documents. Okay.
Documents. Okay. Test DB. ACCDB.
Okay.
Click OK. Again click OK.
Yes.
See,
click OK.
December created now.
And close.
Select
yes.
the DSN.
Now select the December.
Okay. Connection
and
string
OK.
generated. Connection string generated.
Connection string is generated. Now write this SQL statement which
select,
is select.
Suppose field name.
Agent.
Agent, comma.
Yeah. Agent, comma, password.
Password from table name. Login.
From DB to login. Okay, login.
Import.
Then finish.
Imported.
Yes.
Next remaining steps common. What are the remaining steps? Connecting test, connect test data to the test and run the test. Okay.
Run the test.
Next, Radha, guide me. DSN already created. Now I want test data from another test. See, in this data table, we have two tables. The previous example, we downloaded. Just a minute. See, in this database, we have two tables. In the previous example, we imported login table data. This time, I want orders table data for this new test. DSN already created. Using that DSN, fetch that orders table data for this new test. Guide me.
View.
View.
Data.
Data.
Import.
Place mouse pointer on data table and right click. Sheet.
Yeah. Sheet. Yeah. Sheets. Import.
Import.
From database.
From database. Select specify SQL statement manually option. Click next. Click create.
Create.
Just a minute. Where is the December?
It's on the document.
Documents? No, I think. December available on desktop. Just a minute. Sheet import from database. Specify SQL sheet manually. Next. Click create. Here select desktop.
Okay, yes. My document.
Just a minute. December. See DSN already there. Select the DSN. Click OK.
Okay.
Connection string generated. Next, fetch test data. Select.
Yes. Select agent. Order number.
Order number.
ID.
Order NO. From
Order.
Table name.
Order.
orders.
Orders.
Column name, order number, table name, orders. Finish.
Okay.
See,
Finish.
data imported now.
Yes, sir.
Data imported. Next, connect test data. Same. Just a minute, take new test. View data. Place mouse pointer on data table and right click. Sheet import from database. Select specify SQL statement manually option. Click next. Click create. Here select DSN. DSN already there in desktop. Just a minute. Just a minute. See, mouse is not functioning properly. See, December.
December.
Click OK.
Okay.
Connection string generated. Next, enter select statement. Select, suppose, order number from table name orders.
Order.
Finish. What is the problem? Yes, this is a name problem. See, drawback is we have to come from the beginning. Select order NO from orders. Check the spell. Select order number from orders. Finish. See, data imported now. Data imported. Next, connect test data and run the test.
Run the test.
Okay. See, we discussed all three usages of data table. First one, enter test data directly into data table. Next, import test data from external files. Third one, import test data from a database. Next, hybrid approach. Hybrid approach. What is that hybrid approach? You can mix programmatic statements. See. Fourth one, data driven. Testing using data table methods and programmatic statements. Data driven testing using data table methods and programmatic statements. Observe. Take new test. Login functionality. Enter agent name. Enter password. Click OK. Next, I want to conduct data-driven testing for this login functionality by fetching test data directly into runtime data table. See, data table dot add sheet. I'm creating new sheet in runtime data table. Suppose sheet name login. Next, data table dot import sheet. Provide the path of the external file. Just a minute. Comma 1 comma 3. Source and destination I will explain. Next, row count equal to data table dot get sheet of sheet name login. For I equal to 1 to row count, step 1, next set current row data table dot set current row of, here I indicating rows, I first time 1, second time 2, like that. Next, connect test data data table of I comma 1. Data table I comma 2. If you want to observe the test execution process, insert wait statement, it is optional. Run the script. Row count data table get sheet of login. Get sheet login dot get row count. Run. Is that one parameter index value 1 does not exist in the data sheet.
I think it starts from 2, sir,
Yes.
in the data sheet.
Still, a specified parameter index value 2 does not exist in the data sheet. I comma 1. Observe Ritu, where is the problem? Data table of I. I indicates rows 1 first column, 2 second column. Input.x XLS. Just a minute. Row count. It is taking row count 5 only. One only. 1 to row count data table dot set current row. I also okay. I comma. I indicates rows 1 column. Observe Ritu, where is the problem?
No idea.
See, data also imported. Agent password.
So set current row, can you check that?
Just a minute.
Because I mean there is no space. Is that's
Comma 2. Set data table. I is row, column 1, column 2. Tell me Ritu, set current row.
Yes, sir.
What is the problem with I? I okay na? I comma 1, I comma 2. It's not fetching data. Data table value operation failed. Index value 1 does not exist in the data sheet. Oh, I set I. First one, column name, suppose agent 3 or 1 3 2 3. Now it is executing. Observe Saujanya. I indicates rows. It opens rows one by one only. Here observe. What is this one? What is this one?
That is a row or like, the column name, agent name
Column. First column in that login. In this login sheet.
is,
First column.
yes.
First column. What is this 3?
Uh,
Sheet
3 will
ID.
be the data.
Sheet ID in runtime
sheet
data
ID.
table. Sheet ID.
Okay.
Observe. In runtime data table, we have 3 sheets. First sheet, global sheet. Second sheet, action 1 sheet. Just a minute. We have 2 default sheets now. Global
Yes. So
action
third
1.
sheet will be the login.
Login is third sheet. User defined sheet third. Why we are using
Yes.
user defined sheet? If we use our own sheet, we can control that data. See, in runtime data table, login sheet position is third. Next, second,
Okay.
2, 3. What is 2, 3?
2 is the column name and 3 will be the again sheet name.
Sheet ID. 2 is column ID. 2 is column ID. 3 is sheet ID. Otherwise, try with names. This time we used IDs. Column ID, comma, sheet ID. Instead of column ID, comma, sheet ID, try with names. Suppose.
Yeah, we can do agent.
Agent. Next, instead
Password.
of 3, what is the sheet name?
Login.
Login. Login. Next, second one, password.
Password and login.
Same login. Login. Run the script. See, executing. Test 1, test 2, test 3. Okay, that valid input or not, forget about that. Executing. Test 5. Next, just a minute. Try to understand the script. Put mute to Saujanya. Import. Create new sheet. Create new sheet in runtime data table. Runtime data table. Next, import data from an external file. Observe here we used 1, 3. What is this 1, 3? 1 is source. 3 is destination. Say data available in source file first sheet. See, observe sheet 1. Data available in source file first sheet. Next, destination runtime data table third sheet. First sheet global, second sheet action 1, third sheet login. See 1, 3 source, destination. See, this 1 is source file sheet 1, 3 is runtime data table sheet 3. Sheet 3 is login. Okay. Next, why we are inserting programmatic statements with data table methods. Say data table is UFT tool feature. Limitations are there. In order to overcome some limitations of tool features, we insert programmatic statements. Not all limitations, only some limitations. Observe file, settings, run. Here data table iterations. Default option third one, run on all rows. If we use this default option, then it will execute all rows. Suppose in your test data file, 20 rows are there, it will execute all 20 rows. Next, if you select first option, run one iteration only, means it will execute first record. If you select third option, run from row to row. Here you can specify the range of records. Suppose in our data table, suppose in our test data file, 100 records are there. We want to execute 50 to 60. Here you can specify 50 to 60. See, three options: all rows, first row, next range of rows. Suppose my requirement is different. I want to execute only even orders, even numbers, 1, 3, 5, 7, like that, up to 100. Or I want to execute only, even numbers, 2, 4, 6, 8, like that. Or odd numbers, 1, 3, 5, 7, like that. Or every 10th record up to 100, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. See, no option is supporting for my requirement. Observe, Ritu, did you understand the concept? Suppose I want to open every even number up to 100. Is there any option is supporting for my requirement?
No, sir.
Suppose I want to open every even number, 2, 4, 6, 8, up to 100, or every odd number, 1, 3, 5, 7, like that, or every 10th record up to 100, 10, 20, 30, 40, like that. Here no option is supporting. Why? Data table is tool feature, ready-made environment. Ready-made environments have limitations. In order to overcome some limitations of tool features, we can insert programmatic statements. We can't overcome all limitations, only some limitations. See, here my requirement is, for example, I want to open only odd orders. Observe, for I equal to 1 to run row count, step 2. Observe, 1, test 1, next test 3, next test 5. We are controlling. Suppose even numbers, 2 to row count. Test 2, test 4, over. Dinesh, did you observe this concept? Why we are mixing why we are inserting programmatic statements in data table methods? With
Yes,
data table methods?
because we don't have all options available over there.
See, in order to overcome limitations of tool features, we insert programmatic statements. Here we are communicating directly with the runtime data table. Just a minute. See, once again, take new test. Create login functionality. Click OK. Stop. See, run it once, perform dry run, executing. Next, see test is ready, test data also ready. See external file. I want to fetch this test data and connect. Guide me, Dinesh. This time using programmatic statements and data table methods. This is hybrid approach. Guide me.
I don't know from the very beginning.
Concentrate. You guide me, Ritu.
Yes, sir. Data table dot add sheet.
See, observe. Test is ready. Test data also ready. Test data file is external file. I want to fetch the test data into runtime data table and connect. Here we are going to use programmatic statements and data table methods. Here we are directly communicating with the runtime data table. Continue, Ritu.
Yeah, data table dot add sheet.
First create.
Yeah.
Create.
Plus new sheet in runtime data table.
Yes, new sheet in runtime data table. Data table. Tell me the syntax.
Yeah, data table dot
Data table dot
add sheet.
add sheet within double quotes sheet name. For example, login. Okay, new sheet created. Next, import test data
Yeah.
from an
Into
external file. External file.
Yeah. Data table dot import sheet.
Data table. This data table is utility object. Data table dot
Import sheet.
import sheet. Next, path of the external file. Path of the external file. Path of the external file. Next, comma.
Source sheet.
Source sheet ID.
Yeah,
Comma. Destination sheet ID. The
Destination.
source file is external file input.xlsx. Destination is runtime data table. Okay. Next, take row count. Row count. I'm taking one variable. Row count. This is variable. Take the row count of login sheet in runtime data table. Data table dot get sheet. Say in runtime data table we have multiple sheets. I want to get row count for login sheet only, not global sheet or action one sheet. Get sheet. Here you can use either sheet ID or sheet name. If it is sheet ID, use 3. If it is sheet name, use login. Dot get row count. Get row count. Next, insert for loop for, I'm taking one variable. Suppose row equal to 1 to row count. One to row count. Next, set current row. Data table dot type yes. Set current row of row. Next, connect test data. You know the syntax, data table of column ID comma sheet ID or column name comma sheet name. Data table of column ID 1 comma sheet ID 3. Next, data table column ID 2 comma sheet ID 3, same sheet. Otherwise, you can use sheet names. Sorry, column name, sheet name. Password comma sheet name login. Or you can use 2 comma 3. If you want to observe the test execution process, insert wait statement. It is optional. Over. Run. See, test 1, test 2, test 3, test 4, test 5. Next, suppose I want to open every odd number up to 5. Okay, 5 only available. 1 to row count, step 2. Then it will open first record, it will execute first record, third record, fifth record. Run test 1, test 3, test 5. Okay. See, if you insert programmatic statement, you can control the test execution process. Okay, now Dinesh, any confusion about this usage?
No confusion.
Okay,
Thank you.
cool. Welcome. Say next, remaining parameterization methods we are postponing. Why? Suppose environment parameters that we will discuss in environment variables chapter. Next, action parameters we will discuss in actions chapter. Next, automation objects chapter we will discuss fetching test data directly from Excel file and connect without using data table. Next, dictionary items, dictionary keys as parameters that we will discuss in dictionary object chapter. See, action parameters we will discuss in actions chapter. Environment parameters we will discuss in environment variables chapter. Next, dictionary keys in dictionary object chapter. Okay, now we just discussed data table. Okay, next chapter, environment variables. See, environment variables. What are environment variables? What are environment variables? Next, purpose of environment variables. Next, types of environment variables. Next, create environment variables. See, this is user defined. Next, associate environment variables file. to UFT. Next, access environment variables. Next, optional, edit environment variables. It is optional. Next, delete environment variables if required. Okay. See, in UFT test process chapter, I have given a brief idea about environment variables. See, once again, what are environment variables? Environment variables are global variables, depends on local system operating environment. See, environment variables are global variables, depends on local system computer operating environment. See, these are global variables. Next, purpose of environment variables. Can you tell me, Ritu, purpose of environment variables? Recollect?
Yeah, we can use it as a for parameterization.
Parameterization. Okay. Saujanya, purpose of environment variables. Already I explained two advantages of environment variables. One is centralized maintenance of variables.
Centralized maintenance.
Centralized maintenance of variables. Another one, test portability.
Test portability.
Okay, put mute. What is centralized maintenance of variables? Say, suppose I have a variable called price in my project. Price, variable name price. I want to use this price variable in multiple tests. Multiple tests, suppose 20 to 30 tests. If I create price variable as local variable in every test, what will happen? Modifications difficult. Suppose on first software build, price value 100. On second build, price value 200 as per customer requirement. On third build, price value is 300. If we use price variable as local variable in multiple tests, what will happen? You need to open each and every test and change the value. Instead of that, if we use price as global variable, nothing but environment variable, you no need to open any test. You just open environment variables file and modify the value that can be automatically reflected to all associated tests. See, centralized maintenance of variables. Did you understand this concept, Surendra? Surendra, did you understand this concept, centralized maintenance of variables? What about Radha? What about you, Radha?
Yes, sir, I understand.
Tell me, what is centralized maintenance of variables?
We can use those in any different types of tests instead of using same thing.
Different types of tests. Terms confusing.
So in the 20 to 30, if you have 30, 40 tests, we can use the same variable in those all those
Yes.
tests.
If you want to use same variable in multiple tests, then if we use local variable in every test, maintenance difficult. If any modifications are there in future, you need to open each and every test and modify the value. Instead of that, if you use global variable, nothing but environment variable, you don't need to open any test. Just open environment variables file and modify the value. That can be automatically reflected to all associated tests. Centralized maintenance of variables. Getting this point? Next, when to choose,
Yes, sir.
when no need to choose environment variables or global variables. Whenever you want to use any variable in multiple tests, choose environment variables. Why? Modifications easy. When no need to choose, whenever you want to use any variable in single test, you no need to choose environment variable. Why? Maintenance same. Okay, now Saujanya, tell me when to choose environment variables or global variables, when no need to choose.
Uh, when we think there will be a maintenance, so time we can choose environment variables so that we can maintain the centralized maintenance of variables using the constant values, fixed values.
See,
We can store them in data.
confusing. When to choose
Okay.
global variables or environment? When to choose? When no need to choose? Whenever
For
want
global
to
and
choose any variable in multiple tests, same variable in multiple tests, then choose environment
yes,
variable. Whenever you want to use any variable in single test, no need to choose.
then choose yes.
No
Yeah.
need to choose. Why? Maintain same. Getting any confusion?
No, sir.
Okay, cool. See, first one, tests centralized maintenance of variables. Whenever you want to use any variable in multiple tests, choose environment variable. Maintenance is easy. Next scenario, whenever you want to use any variable in single test, no need to choose. Maintenance same. Maintenance same for environment variable and local variable. Next, test portability. Executing tests from different machines is here. Using environment variables, you can take application path. See, take application path into environment variable. Whenever you want to execute same tests in another machine, you can change the application path in environment variable file. Suppose I created 100 tests in my mission. I used application paths according to my mission. Suppose I want to execute these tests from another mission. In another mission, application path is different. I no need to open any test and change the application path. Just open environment variables file and change the application path. Test portability. See, earlier we discussed test portability. Using relevant path also you can maintain test portability. But relevant path only for resource files, function library files, environment variable files, shared object repository files. Relevant path not applicable for application paths. For application paths, you can use environment variable. You take application path into environment variable. Whenever you want to execute same test from another mission, from different missions, you just change the application path into environment variable file and execute. Okay, now, Dinesh, did you understand this second one?
Yes, sir.
Any confusion, Ritu?
No, sir, I got it.
See, centralized maintenance of variables, tests portability. See, next, types of environment variables. See, we have two types of environment variables. Built-in variables. Next, user-defined variables. Say built-in variables limited, but user-defined variables unlimited. You can define a number of variables. Built-in variables limited, limited use only, but user-defined variables unlimited. See how to access environment variables. Accessing built-in or user-defined variables. Same. Just a minute. File settings, environment. Here some built-in variables available. OS, product dir, UFT installation directory, etc. See just MSG box, environment. This is utility object. Environment of environment variable name. For example, OS. Next, environment of product dir, UFT installation directory. Run, say operating system Microsoft Windows 7. UFT installation directory C, program files HP, unified functional testing. See, using environment utility object, we can access environment variables. Access environment variables. Syntax. Environment of variable name. Variable name. Example. Just a minute. Run the script. Observe Ritu. What you understood?
This parameter OS was not found. Confirm that.
Environment variables are case sensitive. Case sensitive na?
Yes, sir, yeah.
Actually, VB script is not a case sensitive language. VB script variables are not case sensitive, but environment variables case sensitive. Environment variables not belongs to VB script. Case sensitive. Okay. Next, create
Sir, then what is the then what is the use of these built-in environment variables?
See, whenever you want to use operating system or product dir, whenever you want to use product dir path, instead of exact path, you can use product dir environment variable.
Oh, Okay.
Suppose in another mission, product diary is different. Suppose in our mission we installed in C drive, in another mission installed in D drive, irrespective of the local system path, it will consider product diary path.
Okay, sir. Okay.
Next, create environment variables. Create environment variables. Observe this navigation. File, settings, environment, select variable type as user defined. Next, click add, enter variable name, suppose agent John. Next, password HP. Next, app path, application path. Application path. Next, price, suppose 100. Okay, export, it is XML file. Environment variable file is XML file. abcd.xml. Save. Okay. Observe XML file created. Just a minute. XML file created. By associating that file, you can access environment variables. See, I'm taking new test. Generate the script. Enter agent name. Enter password. Click OK button. Close the application. Run it once. Perform dry run to make sure whether the script is executing without errors or not executing. Next, instead of constant values, use environment parameters. Environment variables as parameters. Environment variables as parameters. You know the syntax? Environment of, within double quotes, parameter name, app path. See, we didn't associate. That's why it's not populating. Okay. Associate environment variables files to UFT tool, file, settings, environment, select variable type as user defined, click add icon, sorry, select this option, load variables and variables and values from external file, browse path of the file. Next, apply. Okay. See, once again, set, just a minute. First deassociate, Observe associating environment variables file to UFT tool. File, settings, environment, select variable type as user defined. Next, check load variables and values from external file checkbox. Browse path of the XML file, environment variables file, apply, OK. Next, environment of app path. Observe, apart from built-in variables, user-defined variables also populated. Select, otherwise you can type, no issue. Next, set environment of agent. Next, environment of type P password. Want to observe the test execution process, insert wait statement, it is optional. Run the script. Now we are using environment parameters instead of constant values. See, environment parameters. See, agent password environment parameters for input data. Next, app path app path environment parameter for application path. Run. It is executing. Suppose if you want to execute the script from another machine, you just change the application path in environment variable file. Enough. Just a minute. How to edit environment variable file? Right click, edit. Suppose instead of data, instead of John, Delhi. It is taking Delhi. It observe Radha. It is taking new value now.
Sir, can we test with multiple sets of data?
No, environment parameters only for single value.
Oh, okay, sir.
If you want to use multiple sets of test data, you have to choose another method using Excel file or action parameters, etc. Environment parameters single value only.
Okay,
If you want to use multiple values, resource required. Here we are not using any resource.
yes, sir.
Just
Okay.
a minute. You deassociate that one. Settings, environment, user defined.
Sir, so what is what will be the best use we can use if while testing?
See, that depends on your project and your company environment. Best method is fetch test data from external Excel file and connect without using data table. Using Excel application object. Using Excel application
Because this
object.
environment variable is
Environment variable is only for some. See,
only for one, right?
just a minute. Environment variable is not suitable for data-driven testing.
Okay.
Only for test portability and for centralized maintenance of variables.
Okay.
If you want to use data-driven testing, best method is fetch test data from external Excel file and connect using Excel application object without using data table. That is best method. But we have different possibilities. Based on your company environment, you can use. And remember, this environment parameter not suitable for data driven testing, only for entering single value. Here purpose is different. Here parameterization purpose is not for data driven testing, for centralized maintenance of variables and test portability. Getting?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Any confusion?
No, sir. I thought like, so what is the main purpose of this environment variables? Like,
See, centralized maintenance of variables and test portability. Here,
Yeah,
data-driven
I got
testing
it,
is
sir.
not the data-driven testing is not the purpose. Test centralized maintenance of variables and test portability.
I
Suppose
got it, sir.
we are observe, we are using same agent in 20 to 30 tests, same value. Suppose on second build we want to use another value, you no need to open any file, any test, just open environment variable file and change the value. That can be easily reflected to all associated tests. Same application path also. Suppose use this application path in multiple tests. Whenever you want to execute these tests from another machine, you just change the application path with respect to new machine. Observe. Suppose I want to execute, suppose I used application paths in 20 to 30 tests or in multiple tests. I want to execute these tests from another machine. In another machine, application deployed in D drive. Just change the application path according to new machine and execute. You no need to open any test. Getting?
Yes, sir.
Got it, sir.
Okay, see, observe. Remember, environment parameter purpose is not the data driven testing. Here purpose is centralized. See, parameterization only. Concept is parameterization only. But here we are passing single value. Here purpose is centralized maintenance of variables and tests portability, not data driven testing. For data driven testing, you can use data table or action parameters, or you can fetch data directly from external Excel file or flat file or database file using automation objects. See, best method is fetch test data directly from external Excel file using Excel application object and connect. That is best method that we will discuss in VB script chapter. But I will introduce all possibilities: data table, action parameters, next dictionary object, next this one automation objects. Based on your company environment, you can follow. Okay, na? Radha,
It's
now we deassociated na
okay.
this one. Deassociated. Try to execute. It will show error. Run. Save. The environment parameter app path was not found. Environment dot load from file. This environment is utility object. Earlier we discussed some utility objects: system util, repositories collection, services, data table. This time environment within double quotes path of the environment variables file. Here you can use absolute path or relative path. Observe, file, settings, environment, user defined, no environment variables file selected, associated. But we are loading environment variables file at runtime. Run, it is executing. Okay, Dinesh, just 2 minutes. You guide me how to create environment variables file. How to create environment variables file.
Go to file,
settings,
environment, and click add.
Select variable type as user defined.
Right.
Click add icon. Enter variable name. Suppose A, value 100. Click OK. Next.
Check that box.
Same navigation. City. Pardon?
You didn't check that load something.
That is associating. Don't confuse. We are creating environment variables now.
Okay.
Don't confuse. First step, creating environment variables. Next, associating. Whenever you want to access environment variables, then associate.
Okay.
Okay. Next, X 200. Next, export. Suppose file name XYZ. Save. Okay. Next, if you want to access environment variables, associate environment variables to UFT tool. Guide me, Saujanya, how to associate environment variables file?
Files.
File menu.
And settings.
Settings.
Environment. User defined. In the variable type, select user defined.
Select variable type as user defined.
And load variables and values.
This is same test now already there. I'm taking new test.
Okay.
Just a minute. File, settings, environment, select variable type user defined.
User defined.
Now blank.
And load. Select that box. Load variables and values.
Yes. Select this checkbox. Load variables and values from external file. Check this checkbox. And
check the
browse
checkbox and browse the path of the file. Click and XYZ open.
Okay.
And okay.
Okay. Next, instead of associating, you can load environment variables file directly at runtime. Radha, how to load environment variables file directly at runtime?
Hello.
Tell me.
Environment dot load from file.
Within double quotes, path of the
file.
Path of the environment
variable.
variables file. Next, how to edit environment variables. See,
Right click and
open this XML file. See, don't double click on this file. Suppose if you double click, it opens a XML schema. In this XML schema, you cannot edit. Open with the notepad. Just a minute. Right click, edit, or open with notepad, or edit. Here you can change the values. Suppose city name instead of Hyderabad, Mumbai. Save. Next, how to delete environment variables. See, edit is a rare use. Suppose whenever you want to delete any variable, you select these three tags. Suppose I want to delete a variable. Select variable tag, name tag, value tag. Variable open tag, close tag, name tag, value tag. Now only two variables. Save. Okay. Next, just a minute. Last 2 minutes, recap this one. So far, we loaded some resource files directly at runtime. Just recap. First, we discussed load instead of associating. Shared object repository file. Load shared object repository file at runtime. Tell me, Surendra, syntax. Load shared object repository file at runtime instead of associating the file. Surendra, not responding. Dinesh. Ritu.
Yes, sir. Load from file.
Observe the
Correct.
heading. Shared object repository file. Just a general topic. Repositories.
It's like
Repositories collection, it is utility object. Repositories collection is single word. Dot add within double quotes
path of the file.
Path of the shared repository file. Shared repository. Next, Saujanya, load function library file. Function library file at runtime. Tell me the syntax.
So function
execute file
Good.
and path file name.
execute file.
Execute file, single word. This execute file is VB script statement. This repositories collection is UFT utility object. Try to identify the keywords. Execute file. Continue. Somebody told now.
Of.
Otherwise, execute file within double quotes.
Path.
Just a minute. Execute file, path of the function library file. Next, today we discussed load environment variables file. Environment variables file at runtime. Continue, Radha.
Environment dot load from file.
Environment dot load
From file, path of the environment.
load from file. Next, path of the file. Path of the environment variables file. Say all these are resource files, resources of UFT, shared object repositories, function libraries, environment variables files. Here you can use absolute path or a relative path, but relative path is not applicable for application paths. Okay, we will meet tomorrow same time. Any queries, Saujanya? Any queries?
No, sir.
Okay.